Finally today, to a subject that puts normal politics to one side in the cause of saving lives. The dangers of sepsis were brought home only last week at an inquest into the death of 13-year-old Chloe Longster from Market Harborough in Leicestershire. She was rushed to hospital in Kettering 2.5 years ago, but because sepsis wasn't suspected at first, she died within hours. The hospital was criticised by the coroner, who said opportunities were missed by staff, and the trust that runs Kettering General has since apologised to her family. And sadly, Chloe's isn't an isolated case. At the moment, sepsis-related deaths number 1,000 people a week in the UK, and many more people suffer the consequences of it. So last week, after representations from his constituents, Lee Anderson here organised what's called a Westminster debate to discuss how to increase awareness about sepsis. And during that debate, supported by MPs on all sides, he told the story of Abby Hickson, who was rushed to hospital in November 2022. Here's what he said.
Abby very quickly deteriorated. It was visible to Abby's family that she was going to lose both hands and both legs beneath the knee. Only now, looking back a few years later, was it clear that sepsis was never thought of at the time. And I thought the point of this debate is today is getting that awareness out there, not just in the wider community, but actually with the hospitals as well, because it's very unfortunate that this is being missed. And, you know, I don't know, in Abby's case, maybe if they'd have picked it up quicker, then we would not be sat here today. Yet if you stop somebody in the street and ask them what sepsis was, they'd probably struggle to tell you.
Well, you heard her name and story mentioned there, so I'm delighted to say that Abby has joined us in the studio. Welcome, Abby.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Now, of course, you know that sepsis will have been life-changing for you. Can you tell us a bit about what it's been like?
Exactly what you said, to be quite honest, completely life-changing. I'm a mother of 2 young girls, so that's always been the forefront of my mind. I've got to get back for the girls. It's been changing in all sorts of ways, from losing full independence that I had before to now being reliant on Steve or other family, or other family members. Even my 2 little girls now have become 2 little young carers themselves, so silly little things that they've had to help, brush my hair, etc. But we've ridden the storm as such, and we're coming out of it the other side now. I'm getting more independent. I got prosthetic legs a year ago, so I'm able to walk. I'm not prepared to walk up any mountains just yet, but we can walk around, and we're getting there slowly now. Yeah,
and can I ask, I mean, that's incredible to see, you know, where you are now. But had you ever heard of sepsis before you contracted it?
Never, never. And to be quite honest, even though I'm talking a lot about it now, I still don't think sepsis is spoken enough about, and I don't think general public know enough about sepsis. There's loads of adverts for strokes, meningitis, etc., and there's more information around them than there is about sepsis. And I think, if anything, from what I am doing today and having spent time with Lee, if we can just get that sepsis out there, who knows, if my husband might have known certain signs and symptoms, he might have been able to have said something different on the phone call that night to the ambulance that he could have said, could it be sepsis, or I think it might be. But nobody's aware of any signs and symptoms. Yeah, raising awareness is so important for you now, isn't it? I mean, Lee, obviously you raised this debate in Westminster. Why was it important for you to do that?
Well, firstly, this lady here, she's one of my constituents who I've known for a few years. Used to be a councillor as well, by the way. But yeah, it's affected family members as well. And like you say, Geeta, 1,000 people a week are dying of this awful, awful disease. And yet you stop most people in the street, they wouldn't even know what sepsis is. So we've got people missing it, we've got families missing it. Even when they get to the hospital, even some of the hospital staff are missing it. And we've seen cases before in the past, like the one in the clip where they missed it and it cost a young lady her life. So we need a proper public health awareness campaign.
OK, I mean, Jonathan, I have to admit that I didn't really know what sepsis was until, you know, preparing for this conversation. You know, what can be done to raise more awareness around this?
Well, before I was a Member of Parliament, I worked in healthcare regulation, and we would bring prosecutions from time to time where reasonable steps hadn't been taken to assess people for conditions such as sepsis. I'm really pleased NHS England is going to embed those processes across the NHS to make sure sepsis is spotted at the earliest possible stage, so that other people don't go through the trauma that you've been through, Abby. But you're such an inspiring woman, so thank you for joining us today.
And for anyone that's watching, I mean, Lee or Abby, where do people go to if they want to know more information about sepsis? Would you know where to point them, Abby?
I joined the sepsis awareness group. I mean, I know from speaking recently to my doctor, when Lee brought it to attention last week about the post-sepsis symptoms, my doctor didn't even know anything about them. You know, and potentially these are, in my case, these were the first protocol I went to, and even these aren't aware.
What I want to do with Abby, Geeta, is I want to get her into some schools, local schools. I've not told you about this yet, ever, to talk about her journey, and get her into the local hospital, Kings Mill, to meet the chief exec, and start a local campaign as well. Try and get the message out and let Abby be a trailblazer.
OK, well, look, I've only got a little bit of time left. I've got two important people that I want to invite in. Abby's daughters, do you want to come on? They have been watching on from the side, and I know how proud you are of them. You mentioned, in a way, they've sort of been helping you. So how is it to have them here? Oh,
it's amazing. They've been on the journey with me from day one, even unfortunately when I wasn't aware of the journey I was on. So be able to have them sat beside me is just bigger than any gift you can imagine.
Well, Lily and Polly, thank you for joining us. We have run out of time. It's gone so quickly. Thank you to my guests, Jonathan Davies, to Lee Anderson, and of course to Abby Hickson and her daughters. Goodbye.